Good afternoon and welcome to Markets Today. I'm your host, Mbithe Mwema. Now, this week is still a culmination of the coronavirus. Off the back of this, the executive as well as the top dons in the banking industry in Kenya earlier today did release a public speech and had a public gathering. I beg your pardon. There was a public pronouncement in terms of CBK'S measures to be able to help the economy and the businesses in Kenya avert the crisis in as far as the corona pandemic is concerned. I'll give you a brief of this and what the possible impact of this will be later on in the show. But first, let us look at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We continue to see Safaricom dominating trades. There's a bit of an uptick yesterday on price, about 3 percentage points gain in terms of a day-to-day price differential. We did see the price close at traded about 26.5 to the range of 24.5 to 26.5. KCB was also up there. It gained about 3% for the day, and we also saw a slight gain on Equity Bank. Now, there continues to be volatility on these stocks, and the key question is, what are we expecting to see? Do we expect a change in the fundamentals or not? Now, this question we will be answering later on, but off the face of what we had earlier on today from the pronouncements by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, the CBK governor, as well as the chairman of the Kenya Bankers Association, it does sound like this is just the beginning. There is more pain expected, and the business community in Kenya will certainly not be shielded from the turmoil of this event. That said, as I reiterate, earlier today we did have the central bank governor make a pronouncement in as far as what he expects to see in the economy. In collaboration with the Kenya Bankers Association, he did come out with a raft of measures to be able to mitigate the consumer, the Kenyan consumer, as well as the Kenyan businesses against any gross impact from the coronavirus. First and foremost, what he did say that the banks would consider giving you a 1-year moratorium on your loan. If you have a personal loan and you're able to prove to the banks that you have lost your primary source of income, either directly or indirectly as a consequence of the coronavirus, then you can write to the banks and be able to request them to give you a bit of time to get your footing. Now, it's a positive on paper, but if the onus is on you as an individual to go and convince the bank that you're no longer earning your revenues and cannot meet your monthly loan payments, then it would take a bit more for you to convince. So yes, on paper it does sound good, but if the onus is on you, then really there's a lot of subjectivity in as far as this decision is made, and the power remains with the banks. Second and foremost that we had was another moratorium extended to SMEs and to the large institutions in this economy, also to be able to get a 1-year moratorium if they're unable to make good their debt. I think what we are seeing from the central bank governor, what we are hearing from the central bank governor, is he's looking for ways to indirectly inject liquidity into the economy. The other thing that he did say is now the banks will also waive any transaction fees related to mobile money transactions. So anytime you're moving money from your bank to your M-Pesa or from M-Pesa to your bank, you will no longer be charged transaction fees. The most interesting thing that we had from this conversation was this. The governor said that now your wallet, which is your mobile banking wallet, either provided by Safaricom or Airtel or Telcom, will now be synonymous with your bank mobile wallet. If you're either banking with Standard Chartered, with ABSA, with Cooperative, with Equity, either with the bank or with the telecoms, they will be synonymous and they will be more or less one and the same thing. I think there's a lot to read into this. For the longest, there has been a question and a concern in as far as the interoperability of the bank-led mobile money platform as well as the telecom-led mobile money platform. I think the synonymity in the decision made by the central bank governor does mean that over and above, we are finally getting to the point of interoperability, and this could change the future of how digital banking is done in this economy. Safaricom could be the biggest beneficiary once all of this ends, because it now has access to the cashless economy in terms of the money that is coming in. Over and above that, the central bank governor has said if you are handling money outside of the banking institutions, anytime you make a deposit, it will take 1 week of quarantine. In other words, putting your money aside before it can be reflected in your money account. So you have a scenario where transaction costs have been eradicated. We have a scenario where your money will take a week to reflect in your bank account. In other words, he is pushing the economy to quickly get into a cashless economy and no longer depend on the notes that are out there. Safaricom has the platform to be able to provide the services that we need. But then there's always a constant question of systemic risk. A couple of weeks back, we did see a lot of complaints coming in either through online or just speaking to people saying that for a couple of hours, they were unable to transact on M-Pesa. Now, this is the kind of systemic risk that could possibly give some regulators ammunition to bring back the debate of separate Safaricom, separate the mobile money business from the voice business, largely due to the systemic risk. I could be reaching over my head on this, but it's probably something to look out for, especially if you are an investor, so that if you're only looking at the fundamentals, yes, the fundamentals could be rife and they could be getting better for Safaricom, but then the regulatory risk could still be an overhang on this particular stock. Finally, from these pronouncements, the banks could be in for another worse cycle this year. I think what I got from the pronouncements of extending and giving personal debt relief and also extending the moratorium for debt repayments by the business community here means that non-performing loans could possibly be worse. We have come off the tail end of a couple of years, 3 to 4 years of a downward economic cycle. We had not anticipated the coronavirus. Prior to the coronavirus, all the indicators were telling us that we should expect a stable economy in the year 2020, with the greatest risk being the upcoming elections. Now that the coronavirus pandemic is here, it does look like things will probably get much worse. For you as an individual, I think the key consideration is cash is king, whether you are an individual, whether you are a business. And then secondly, looking at the stocks on the NSE, if NPLs are going to increase, and secondly, if the costs affiliated with mobile transactions are now being taken away, and this has been a cash cow for the banks, then there could be a downturn in terms of the earnings prospects for the banks. But this is a conversation we want to have as an ongoing one as we bring different CEOs, different CFOs, different captains of industry to help us understand this conversation. Today, we have the head of asset management at Genghis Capital sitting with us in studio. He's going to help us understand how has the asset management world evolved, and we would like to put him to task to help us understand if these pronouncements by CBK actually thwart any investment thesis for the different asset classes. The firm has also launched a new product that targets the retail consumer in terms of mobilizing your finances and investing on your behalf. We will be looking at this in depth after the break. Thank you for joining us, and we would like you to engage in this conversation. Our Twitter handle is Metropole TV, and my Twitter handle is Mbithemwema. We also have an SMS line, 20146. Are you concerned? Is money coming to you? Or is what the CBK governor is saying neither here nor there? Give us your thoughts and see you in a few.